everybody get seated so we can start the program. Thank you so much.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's with excitement and great pride, I welcome you to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Ohio Chapter Induction Banquet. I want to thank everyone for their attendance tonight. It's about the 7 inductees we're inducting here tonight. It's their night. I'd like to be the first to welcome and congratulate them. I hope tonight is a night that you all always remember. Tonight's inductees contributions to the sport of wrestling are inspiring, groundbreaking, and so very important to our sport in the state of Ohio. This group has been nominated by the peers as elite in their chosen profession. They have set new standards of excellence that other coaches and supporters of wrestling strive to live up to. Ohio has an amazing history in the sport of wrestling. The Ohio chapter has an obligation to honor and recognize those outstanding individuals. This is an obligation we take very seriously. Join me in welcoming the 2023 National Wrestling Hall of Fame Ohio chapter inductees. I'd like to take a second to introduce the board members. Gordy Longshaw, Robin Rayfield. You stand up there, buddy. Robin Rayfield.
It was, Joel.
Oh. Andy DeSabato, Ray Anthony, Steve Kish, Steph Mendelson, Joel Grayling. We also have another very special group in attendance tonight, past inductees. I'll introduce them quickly. If they could stand as I introduce them, if everybody could wait until the very end to hold for the applause, that would be great. Anthony Campolo, Ray Anthony Sr., Chris Kali, Steve Kish. Oh boy. Didn't know there was a blank page. Robin Rayfield, Andy DeSabato, Joe Carone, Sean Crozier, Joe Drago, Tom Evans, Deborah Kali. I think that's everyone.
You look in your program, 2010, I was asked to form a committee with Bobby Douglas and Bill Lamb. The guy came from Michigan, and some states had a chapter for the National Hall of Fame for Oklahoma. Well, we didn't. So we met and we formed it, and it's amazing. I'm looking around, I compliment, we have 293 people here representing all inductees. What an honor. It's the biggest crowd we've had. Thank you for being here. And of course, all these years, people come up to me and say, Gordy, how come so-and-so's not in the Hall of Fame being an inductee? I said, nobody told me. None of the committee people can say, put somebody in. But we have applications, and you see in the program, you fill it out. If you got somebody in mind, please think about it. They might make it. And it's hard. There's 88 counties in this big state, and we try to be fair when we meet and analyze what applications and who should be in the Hall of Fame, because what a great honor it is, as you can see, because you're taking time out, your money and time on a Sunday to be here. But there's some people that's not in the Hall of Fame, so think about the ones that might be in the Hall of Fame. Send us their application, we'll take a look at it and be helpful. Thank you so much.
Everyone can stand over to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice justice for all. Thank you.
Steve Kiss will give them benediction.
Before beginning my prayer, I know this might be sacrilegious. I'm trying to sell shirts. To request that you buy a shirt and you forgive John Stevenson for mentioning Steve Kiss's name when he's accepted as an inductee. These are the shirts. They were $50, they're now $30. I'll have a table out here in the front when you all leave. But they're very nice. They're very nice. I have a big mouth. That's close. There we go. They're very nice. Very nice material. I'm not going to let you touch it. John Stevenson, don't forget that. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to induct our National Wrestling Hall of Fame Ohio chapter members for 2023. Thanks to their friends, relatives, wrestlers, coaches, and all who are here to honor those who have meant so much to our great state of Ohio's outstanding wrestling tradition. Please bless our food as we receive your blessings and pray to protect all on our way home this evening. In your name we pray. Amen.
This time someone will come to your table and announce what's there. Andy wants to get rid of the money he's got in his pocket, so he's going to announce the winner.
I gotta get rid of it.
I don't trust him because he's an Italian.
I got Braxton to pick it. I'd like to get a young, going to be a wrestler, right? All right, good. We collected $534, so it's $267 to the winner. Dig deep, just pick one. Okay, if you take your red tickets out, the winner of $267 is 432-5758. 432-5758. Got a winner? Come on up, I got to check your ticket. Oh, Coach, man, what's up? A lot of times they donate it back. We were putting pressure on Finley Collins. Please. I'd like to welcome everybody to our honors banquet tonight. At this time, I'd like to introduce Tom Evans, 2022 Hall of Fame inductee. I've known Tom for many years. I knew Tom when I was coaching at Columbia, and he got pinned in our gym. He was a math major. He could count lights, subtract the bulbs that were burned out. He was also a security guy when he was coaching over at Brea. Brea school's backwards, and they have the visitors on the home side. And one of the Stavanovich boys were wrestling, and all of a sudden Mr. Stavanovich, who I met that night, comes walking across the gym like a big red oak tree, and Tom says, "Don't worry about him, he's okay, he can handle himself." I said, "No kidding, I'm worried about myself." But Tom Evans is really a giver to our sport for many years. Superintendent at Cuyahoga Heights High School, where he graduated. Tom helps all across the state, run sectionals, districts, anybody's tournament. He tried to officiate. He really was terrible at it. So that being the case, I'd like to bring Tom up. Tom's our MC today, and everybody enjoy the evening.
Tease Ray. I said 2 more dual meets in Columbia's gym, and I could have told you the light rotation when they needed to be changed. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to be your presenter today. I want to thank the committee for always scheduling this on a Sunday that the Browns are playing, because they saved me 1/17 of my agony for the year, pain of not having to watch them. So, it was an outstanding group of individuals. We're sorry we had to move the podium over to the side. We used to have it in the middle. Ray told me I blocked the screen, so we had to move it over off to the side. Our first inductee today is being inducted as an outstanding American. His name is Alex Stepanovich. He's a product of the West Shore Y. Berea High graduate, where he was Berea's first ever 4-year letterman in football and 4 years in wrestling. 3-time state qualifier, runner-up in a state championship, high school All-American. I had the pleasure of coaching Alex and his brother Nick, and I was his position coach in football and his wrestling coach. And I still remember the first time I took the boys to an away tournament. We were loading the station wagon, and Mark Stepanovich comes up to me and says, "Tommy, where's your bag?" I said, "It's in the back of the car, Mark." He opens my bag up and he stuffs a bottle of Jack Daniels, and he goes, "You're taking my sons for the weekend, you're going to need this." Alex finished his career as All Big Ten, recipient of a Buckeye Tree in Buckeye Grove, signifying his All-American status. He received permission from Coach Trussell to work out with Tommy Rollins, and we all know how well Tommy did with the Buckeye wrestling team. 4th-round draft choice of the Arizona Cardinals, where he's the first rookie ever to start 16 games for them. After 3 years with the Cardinals, he signed as a free agent with the Cincinnati Bengals, and he actually, before he could move his wife there, he lived with my sister for a while. He taught my nephew how to sneak ice cream out of the freezer in the garage. Moved to Atlanta for a year, finished his playing career up with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the only time I've ever held my nose and rooted for the Steelers. Upon his retirement, he moved to back to Northeast Ohio, where he continues to contribute to the sport of wrestling and the benefits of being a 2-sport athlete. He's married to his lovely wife, Dawn. He's here with his sons, Luca and Marco. It's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Alex Stepanovich.
Please take your seat. Thanks, Coach. I'm definitely very humbled. I emceed this event last year. I can definitely tell you it was a lot easier knowing the pressure that everybody else was under. When you get to this stage in life, you have a lot of thank yous you feel you need to say. And first, I think it's funny. I just told Eric Burnett as I walked by, do the deal. I was raised by his old man, Mr. Burnett. I just told his sons, I said, it's wonderful to go in this year with Eric. I know he won't be the last Burnett, but his father was one of the first people outside my parents who truly believed in me. After that, I have to say that my life would not be where it is without the sport of wrestling. My life would not be where it is without people like the Burnett family and other coaches who believed in me along the way. Life is a team game, as in football, as in wrestling. But people believed in me selflessly all along the way. Most people look at my accomplishments and think that it's something that I truly hold dear and something that, you walk in my house, you probably see them everywhere. It's the people along the way who believed in me that I love the most. I ran into my old academic advisor, Mr. Meeker. People like that who along the way helped me get through college, who encouraged me to come back and get a degree, which I did when my career was done professionally. So many people selflessly showed me the way. I had a wonderful staff in middle school. I was coached by Clark Wright, whose boys wrestled at St. Edward High School, and he taught me the same fundamentals I learned under the Burnetts. I had a wonderful 8th grade football coach, John Rebar, who just believed in the fun of the sport. And then when I got into high school,
I had people who valued me as a human being and the character of who I was more than the victories on the wrestling mat or on the field. I had wonderful high school wrestling coaches who took it upon themselves to not only train me during the season, but Brian Lemon picked me up every day. Now, I mean, I just can't fathom now that you can't give a kid a ride to school anymore. That's a whole other subject of life. But he picked me up every day, taught me the importance of taking care of my body, taught me the importance of there is no bench press on the football field. There is, all these things we try to do to train as an athlete. He taught me the principles of being a champion. He taught me the principles of being a better person. And that included Tom Evans, Bob Youngblood, Jay Mendocino, Dana Porter. All these guys selflessly kept pouring themselves into my career. And they weren't getting anything out of it. It didn't matter their personal struggle, their difficulty in life, their difficulty in their own homes. They continuously showed up. They continuously were there for me and supported me and believed in who I was. Obviously, like most people would know, I made a career more in football. I'd like to thank the Nutters, even though they're not here. I used to wrestle with Neil Nutter. He used to tell me you make more money in football, so I know Neil's not here, so I want to thank Neil. My wife thanks you as well. And there's definitely some interesting Neil Nutter stories as well that we'll just leave those out. But I also got to thank my older brother, because I grew up in a family you usually did what your older sibling did, because it was cheaper. There was those times people didn't care about feelings, so my dad wasn't too worried about what I thought, being the younger brother. So I think if my brother was a swimmer, I do not think I'd be going into some National Swimming Hall of Fame unless there was a sinking event. So I got to thank my older brother for showing me the way. My older brother was definitely a big influence in my life. You never know which hungry child you have. You know, my brother was a hard worker, but every single time I thought he was slighted, it angered me. And so every yard he gained, I wanted 10. So I got to thank my older brother for choosing wrestling and football, because otherwise I wouldn't be up here. There's so many people I'd like to thank. Like I said, I'm usually not lost for words. I'd like to thank my wife. I learned that from certain people. I know he's probably not here. You always thank your wife. I'd like to thank my wife. It's definitely been a great ride. She's given me 3 beautiful children. There's a lot of sacrifice. She doesn't get the recognition that I get, but she's got to put up with me, help me do my laundry, cook for me, and things of those nature. She's a wonderful wife. But I'm standing here today because my whole life of competing, working hard, trying to set a difference, trying to pay it forward in life, I was trying to be a visual love letter to my parents. My parents gave me everything. My parents were the strength when I couldn't be. My parents were my foundation. My parents valued character over any sort of other value in life. My parents valued me and my brother taking care of my mother, my sister, over any victory on the wrestling mat. And any difficulty I had in my life, my father knew the effort I put in. And the words that probably changed my life and my career the most was the word love. My dad knew how hard I worked and what I was willing to put into it. And every time I didn't get what I wanted, he told me he was proud of me and he loved me. It was never, oh, you were so close. Or, oh, you know, I mean, if I did win that tournament, it was very humbling. He said, go take out the trash. So that was a whole, go take out the trash. But it was always out of love. And the only way you change the world, and all the things you think we have going on in the world now, is through love. The love of what you do, the love of showing up every day, the love of being there for somebody else. Love is and people look at all the accolades I've had. I played for a great football coach, Jim Tressel. All we talked about was love. Love for the opportunity love for the person next to you, love for the person and their plight, love for the opportunity to compete against another good university. And if you don't have interconnected relationships, there is no love. We had to know, under Jim Trussell, we had to know the guy's number, his parents, his grandparents, whoever raised him, the high school he went to, and what he was. If you were invested in the people around you, you were invested in the same goal. And that's the same house I was raised in. And then when people always ask, how did I get here? What do I always do? I always tell my boys, have a vision for how you want to look on tape. Have a vision for how you want to compete. Not for what somebody else is going to tell you or hold you back. How you want to compete. How hard you want to work. Wrestling gave me all of that basis that I needed. The sport of wrestling continuously shows up in my life. The sport of wrestling continuously leads the way for me. I always laugh when people say, my guy's in good shape. Are you in championship shape? And people are like, what does that mean? Can you go 6 minutes, balls to the wall, not holding back? That's shit. Are you willing to commit every time you come into a wrestling room? Are you willing to commit as hard as those coaches who are committing to you, taking time away from their families to show up and be there for you? The sport of wrestling taught me how to get up, dust myself off, and keep moving forward in life. The sport of wrestling helped me move on in difficulty. Nothing in life is fair. Nothing in life. There's time, we all know we should have won more. Everybody says it. Life isn't fair. But it's what you do with the time you have. It's how hard you go after. And it's how many people you pull along with you is what you're going to end up with. If you get to the top of that mountain and all you do is look down at everybody else and you didn't help anybody else up there, you have nothing. If you don't pull people with you, help people. Some people might not be a yeller. Some people not. You're not ready to burst, are you? Okay, I got a pregnant lady here. I'm not. She's grabbing her stomach. She made me nervous. But I'm not prepared for that. But if you're not going to help those around you, and I can tell you this, reading over everybody's accolades today, I'm humbled to be included with all these. Some of these guys started programs. I'm thankful because of my close relationship. For once, I think somebody like Eric Burnett finally gets the flowers in life he deserves. We have so many people that start wrestling camps and they charge kids. This man is worried about putting shoes on kids, helping them brush their teeth at night, giving them a warm meal, show up with no shoes, and that's how he goes. He's pulled many people with him, my family included. So I've got to thank the committee. I know these aren't easy choices. I got to thank everybody who's helped me get here. But most of all, I hope that you guys in your life in one way or another reach down, help somebody else, and selflessly keep showing up, because you never know, that short little fat kid at the end of the roster sometimes turns into this kid. So thank you all and have a good evening.
I was supposed to remind the inductees about the time limit, and that's why we have Tony Campola sitting here. If Tony's hand goes up, we've all seen this before as coaches, right?
It goes up all the
Stalling.
time, Tony.
That means it's time to start cutting up. Tony, not true story. One time, Tony penalized one of my kids for stalling before the match started. Our next presenter is Nick Burgess. Nick was a 3-year letter winner at Capital. He began his coaching career at Strongsville Center High School. I can tell you, Nick is part of a long list of coaches who had a wrestler that pinned Tom Evans. I can tell you there's 15 lights in the Strongsville Center cafeteria because in the 8th grade, that's where you wrestled. Nick, in 1974, Nick moved to Pickerington. started a wrestling program and coached there until 2006, establishing and maintaining one of the premier wrestling programs in the state of Ohio. Nick accumulated 379 dual meet victories, which ranked 7th all time in Ohio. Here are some of the numbers: 151 league champions, 280 sectional placers, 248 district qualifiers, 109 district placers, 33 district champs, 77 state qualifiers, 26 state placers, 7 state champs. His teams competed in 7 state dual meet tournaments, placing second on 3 occasions. Nick's teams were 5-time regional champs and 3-time runner-up. He's been named the Central District Coach of the Year in Ohio twice. He's a member of the Ohio Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame in 2001, the Mid-States League Hall of Fame in 2000, Medina Invitational Hall of Fame in 2002, and Pickerington Hall of Fame in 2014. Nick has paid it forward to the sport by holding offices as President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer, and Representative for the Central District Wrestling Coaches Association. One of Nick's nominations letters stated, as a high school wrestler, Coach Burgess taught us that wrestling helped you develop character that would help you be successful in life. He pushed us hard so we would succeed not only on the mat, but in life. Nick has been married to Pamela for 36 years. Sons Andrew, Blaine, and daughter Christy are all college graduates. He's a proud grandfather of 4 granddaughters and 1 grandson. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Nick Burgess.
I apologize for my 8th grade wrestlers pinning you. I don't know what this means, but Andy DeSabato kept telling me, Nick, your speech can only be 8 minutes. And every time he saw me, he shook my hand and he said, remember, your speech is only 8 minutes. So apparently he thinks I'm boring, which I might be, but we're going to try to keep it at 8 minutes. First of all, I'd like to thank God for this award and the many blessings I have in my life. I've been married to Pamela for 37 years. Time slips into the future. I want to thank her, and she put this wonderful display together. And Blaine drove all the way from Texas to be here. And Christy made me a shirt with a machine called a Cricket. I don't know if you people know what a Cricket is. She's got like a lettering on it, you know. And then I used to do chairs for my wrestlers when they retired and give it to them. And I forget what time of my career I started doing that, but she made me a retirement chair. So if you want to look at that later, so that was pretty cool. Her husband, Mike, with my daughter, developed 2 wonderful children. Hopefully one will come with us on Thanksgiving. So they have a boy and a girl, and he's already practicing his wrestling stance. I want to thank Andy DeSabato for being my mentor and recommending my 4 decades of work to the Ohio chapter board. I want to thank the board for the honor of being included with all of the people that have already been inducted. Many great people. My service included participation at Capital University, where my coach was Ted Georgia. He recruited me from the football team, and we had a wonderful time there. Then after graduating from Capital, I went to Strongsville, where I was hired as a wrestling coach, BSCS, green version biology, phys ed, 3 different sports I coached, and I was eligible for food stamps. I don't know what that says about education in the 70s, but there wasn't a lot of money. After Strongsville, my mother passed. passed away, unfortunately. She had a rough time of it, and so I moved to Pickerington and walked in the office, talked to the superintendent, talked to the principal, and the next thing I know, I'm the first wrestling coach for Pickerington High School. So I started the program. After I retired in 2006, I continued in wrestling officiating. I've officiated for 10 years. I may officiate this year if my health continues to be well. And one of the things is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Looking at me, you got to figure I haven't gone anywhere fast. And that gives me a lot of time to delegate. And that was the kind of coach I was. I would like to give credit to all the people who have helped me with instilling in wrestlers the skills needed to succeed in all areas of life. My first assistant coach, John McNeely, raise your hand. Where's John? John McNeely, my first assistant coach. He ended up being the principal at Crestview High School near Ashland. Jason Roach, back there. After he quit coaching with me and I retired, he won 3 Division I state track championships. And this past year, he was second, the Pickerington Central track team. Amazing coach. Now you see why I surround myself with good people. They help me win. Tom Swartz, one of my wrestlers, he came and volunteered to take the second team. At that point in time, we had enough wrestlers and we could fill every weight class, and he would take this team to Division II and III schools throughout the state, and sometimes they'd win. And they wanted us there, 1, because we paid the entry fee, and 2, we had full teams. And so, thanks, Tom. That was a great job. Ryan Doherty, he was a heavyweight wrestler for me. He took over after Jason retired. He was an excellent heavyweight for us. If I break down, I apologize. I'll come back to it. Dave Bristol ran all of our tournaments, especially the sectional tournament, and was an outstanding person with computers, and he would always get the job done, and the scores would be accurate, and very few complaints. Jim Byzantine, he was one of the few kids that was a 2-year captain, and he had toughness in the practice room like no other. And last year, his coach, 2 years in a row he's been here to celebrate, John Jefflyer was inducted into the National Wrestling Hall. So it was pretty cool. To get back, Mark Show, he passed away. He gave a speech once. That said, every wrestler needs to have a suffix behind their name. Whether it be Nick Burgess, sectional champion, Keaton Anderson, 3-time state champion, Brad Harris, state champion, whatever it might be. And that struck me as one of the best thoughts that I ever had and heard. We had great wrestlers in the room. One parent was also a two-time state champion, Leo DeSabato. One time, the visiting coach they were scrimmaging, and Leo and two other state champions and a state runner-up were in one group of 4. Can you imagine? That was kind of a Donnybrook. So thanks, Leo, for that. Keith and Penny Harris, their son was a 4-time. Brad Harris was a 4-time state qualifier and finally got his championship. And he placed the other 2 years. The 4th time, he got beat by Sonny Marchette. If you know him, he was a pretty good wrestler. Got beat 9-8 on a stalling call. It's funny the things you remember. I remember names, schools. Junior high, George Lust sent us a bunch of good wrestlers. He would teach them, he would play Jimi Hendrix music while they were doing their round robins. And he was helped by Bobby Middendorf, Mike Pierre, Bill Barnes, who has since passed away. We had people come in. Penny and Keith Harris would help me get people come in and teach us on Saturday. Ron Karshalava, Mark Coleman, Tommy Rowlands, they would come in and teach our kids on Saturdays. We'd give them some money and they'd come in. Some of the people that I watched, Mike Milkovich, I used his book on practice, how to organize a practice. Billy Martin, we went to his Granby School of Wrestling twice. Ken Churto, I always like his quote, "Hard work makes dreams come true." I would say that to everyone. Gene Mills was the half Nelson series from the knees. I remember when I first started coaching, people would say, "Don't put a half Nelson on while you're on your knees." But he definitely showed us. Doug Bluebaugh came in. He was a quaint person who taught us a lot about pinning combinations. How am I doing? I'm way over, aren't I?
Time.
Time?
Yeah.
Good. Last sentence, I'm done. No one makes it alone. Look behind you and you will see the people who have made your success possible. That's it.
Don't make them hit you for stalling up their thing.
Our next inductee is Eric Burnett. This is kind of fun for me because I'm a Lorain County resident and Eric's a homeboy, Lorain County guy. I have a weekly wrestling show on a local radio station in Lorain County, and Eric is always first on my list to interview because he's such a great interview, such a great contributor to the sport of wrestling. He was a 4-time state champ at Oberlin High School, 128-2. Clarion, 3-time NCAA qualifier, 3-time EWL placer, and reached All-American status. He's the head coach at Elyria High for 25 years. Eric's team accumulated 299 dual meet wins. He had 101 state qualifiers, 63 state placers, 26 state finalists, 12 state champions. He had coached 39 wrestlers that had over 100 career wins. 3-time state runner-up, 11 times top 10 finishes, and 15 times top 25 finishes. Eric's also been very active in USA Wrestling, having coached the U.S. Freestyle Dual Team to 6 national titles and 12 top 6 finishes. Eric has wrestlers that have gone on to wrestle Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA. He's had 3 Ivy League wrestlers, 5 Ivy League graduates. Just a few of the wrestlers that Eric has coached through Burnett Trained Wrestling. A couple brothers by the name of Stever, his brother Scotty. We all been paying attention to wrestling with all of Scotty's recent successes. Some other guys, Klzicki, Maynard, Leonard, Bertine, the Julius, the Fenton brothers, the Palmers, the Mattins, the Schlatters. A guy by the name of Taylor, he just picked up a gold medal. Another guy by the name of Tomasello, and he's had no greater joy than coaching his 2 sons. One of Eric's chief competitors said this about Eric: as important as Eric's accomplishments are in the wrestling community, I think his commitment to developing values in young people is more impressive. Eric teaches his student athletes the importance of pride in the face of loss, humility, and success, regardless of ability level. More importantly, I think Eric works every day to be a model to everyone around him by doing the right thing even when it's not popular. Eric will coach anyone, more than I've ever seen. Eric is always willing. That's Todd Haverdale, the head coach of Brexville. I'm certain that tomorrow morning Eric will be at youth practice, because that's who Eric is. He's married to Janet. His sons Mick and Nate are here with him today. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce for induction to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio chapter, Eric Burnett.
All right, good. So yeah, anybody that knows me knows I've carefully written this up in crayon, and I'm going to be all over the place here. I have a lot of people to thank, a couple of stories to tell, but first I'm going to set my clock. It's I can go, man, and I know we don't want to be around here all night, right? Okay. Let's see here. Jackson and Braxton, where are you at? A couple of guys over here. Yeah, these guys are the reason that we do what we do, right? Got these guys that I'm coaching. And yes, tomorrow we're going to get together and we're going to wrestle. It's one of the coolest things. I was glad to be retired from being a head high school coach, but you know, just being around the kids and continuing to work on their technique and trying to get them better with everything, right? You know, it's not just wrestling. A lot of people to thank, obviously my mom and dad. My mom's sitting over here. So she's got stories. This entire table over here, right here, has seen the absolute best and worst in me. So I can't thank them enough. Mick, Nate, Janet, my mom, my sister, my niece and nephew. You know, yeah. So a story about my sister is something I learned from my father and from our band director at Oberlin High School, as a matter of fact, a guy named Steve Johnson. So I played cornet. It's called cornet, basically a trumpet. And my sister also decided to play cornet. She was 2 years younger than me. So I think it was my senior year in high school. And I was pretty good. I didn't practice at all. I had some talent, but I was okay. And my sister practiced her ass off. Like, she was always playing her trumpet, like trying to get better and better and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, man, play your trumpet. So they had back then a thing called sectionals, and they had these after school. And a sectional was basically if familiar with the wrestling term, wrestle off. It was like a trumpet off, right? So you had to go in after school. You had to sit in the little band room there, and the director would stand there. And he's like, "All right, you go." So my sister went, and she knocked it out, right? I didn't practice. I wasn't ready. Went in there. I didn't play awful. I mean, that was okay. So at the very end, he dismisses Jenny. So I'm like, all right, I'm cool. I got it, right? And he's like, well, Eric, your sister's going to take over your chair. You're going to drop down, right? But the one which was crushing, right? He's like, come on, man. So, but he did tell me, he's like, your passion is elsewhere. He's like, when you need to leave a band practice to go wrestle or to go train, I'm always good with that. He's like, but your sister's always grinding. This is her passion, you know? And she chose the arts. It's what she's doing with her life. I mean, she teaches at Hathaway Brown. She's a choreographer. She's, you know, that was her passion. It wasn't mine. My passion was elsewhere. And that's what I'm able to bring to the table. You know, for all of our youth wrestlers and their parents and things like that. It's like, if you're passionate about something, you'll make it happen. And maybe it won't be in wrestling, but maybe you'll take something from wrestling and apply it to your passion. Apply it to your life, right? And when you talk about having kids that have Ivy League degrees, and we had a recent West Point graduate who's currently a Ranger. He got through Ranger school, and for every one of those guys, man, we have guys that are just living a great life. You know, maybe they don't have the most prestigious job, or maybe, you know, they're not making the most money or whatever, but they're doing things right because the things they learn in a wrestling room or in a weight room, right? And that's kind of where I'm coming from, right? I was a loose cannon. For anybody that knows me, back in the day, I was a loose cannon. And I created some barriers for myself, and I had to work through them. And I had a lot of people that believed in me, okay? People that maybe would have ordinarily said, yeah, we had enough of you, right? Once again, when you're talking about people that I need to thank, you know, my parents never gave up. You know, coming out of high school, this is the second story, and I promise it's the last one, and I'll get into thank yous. Coming out of high school, I had a really good high school career. When I went on to college, and because of my terrible high school grades, most of the offers I was getting dried up. And I'm very candid about this. I tell the kids at our camps, I tell them, you live right, good things happen. You live wrong, bad things happen. Okay, I'm a living testament to that. So when I wasn't doing the right things, when I didn't make the grades I needed to make, everything dried up. I had some of the most prestigious college coaches in America that sat in our living room that wanted me to come to their schools. Once they found out about my status as a student, it dried up. Clarion University never stopped calling. Okay, they brought me on campus. I had to sit out my freshman year because my high school grades weren't where they needed to be. I sunk emotionally, mentally. I went down a rabbit hole. A pretty negative rabbit hole of getting involved in things you shouldn't, and probably spun my wheels for a couple of years. Things weren't going great for me. I was probably at the lowest point in my life as far as academically, athletically, socially, whatnot. You know, I'd call home and talk to my mom, and she's like, keep going. There's no coming home. Keep going. You know, and that's kind of how it was. Then I had my teammates step in. Some teammates at Clarion, Kurt Angle, Scotty Henry, Ant-Man, some of these guys that are important to me in my life stepped in and got me spun around. Said, hey man, you're living like an idiot. Let's start doing things right. Okay, they didn't have to do that. They could have said, you know, be gone man, we're done. Right? But they were awesome teammates. Okay, that taught me a lot. That taught me a lot about being a good teammate, helping people. Right, trying to get the best out of everybody around you, right? Coach Bob Bub at Clarion, Hall of Famer. I'm proud to say he retired my senior year. 1992 was his last year. What that guy taught me, as far as, you know, just trust, give it a second chance, things like that. That guy gave me third chances. You know, he didn't have to do that, but he believed in me. You know, and that's something right there that I took with me, right? Because I've dealt with a lot of kids that have been up and down, right? And if you give up, if you boot them out the door, man, who knows what's going to happen, right? And that's what that guy did for me. Okay, so I wasn't going to coach. I had a good high school career. I didn't have a great college career. I was going into my senior year. Still not an All-American. And my intention coming out of high school was, make the Olympic team. You're a 4-time state champ, right? You're ranked number 2 in the country, whatever it was. Yeah, so, you know, when I was talking to people, when I was getting interviewed and things like that before I went to college, you know, they asked me, what are your goals? Well, yeah, I'm going to be an Olympic champion. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Until life threw me some curveballs, mostly created by me. And so as much as I loved working with kids, I worked all the Clarion wrestling camps in the summertime. I came home. My brother was getting older. My dad had me doing work with him because I was 10 years older than Scotty. I loved coaching, but I didn't feel as if I didn't come through and finish things out right the way they should be, I didn't feel validated in coaching kids. And I feel bad about saying that because some of my closest friends, they didn't have the career I had in wrestling. And they weren't NCAA All-Americans. And they're some of the best coaches I know. Hell, the best coach I know is my dad. He never stepped foot on a wrestling mat competitive. Never wrestled. Best coach I know. But that's where I was. That's where I was in 1991. You know, I wasn't right. But I had people around me, okay, that got me right. And that's what I tried to do as a coach. I tried to develop kids into being good teammates. All right, figuring out how to help somebody out. You know, maybe when they're not making the right choices, the best choices, maybe when things aren't going right. So I have a list, and I'll be brief because I'm over 8 right now. I'm pretty sure, but we got to the point. Our program got pretty good, and at the end of the season, we had so many kids working hard. The coaches would meet before the banquet, and I'm like, Billy needs an award, and they'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, the guy went to districts, whatever, and I'm like, yeah, but he showed up for every match, and he jumped in there, and he'd wrestle. He'd fill a spot when we needed him to fill a spot, whatever. We would find awards for these guys because those were the guys that were most important on our team, right? They were the glue. Not everybody's going to be a state champ. We needed all those guys. They needed to be rewarded. Okay, now, that was then. What I'm talking about now, I'm talking about, so beyond sports, the Total Commitment Award. Okay, this goes to the Zeman family. Coach Ken Zeman was my high school coach. He taught me that, we didn't have to do everything in the wrestling room. He was a great coach. He and Jimmy Clark helped me out a lot, technique-wise. They helped me a lot. But if I was struggling with something, and maybe I needed a break or whatever, I'd just stay over at Coach Zeman's house for the weekend. Started hanging out with his son, became one of my best friends. Right? That taught me that, well, you can do more as a coach than just be in a room. Just help with technique. You can help somebody with life. Coach Zeman helped me with life. Generosity of Knowledge Award. Frank Fiore, Frank Jane, Tom and Dan Turnus, Tom Milkovich and the Milkovich family. Tadaki Hata, Marty Spann and his family. More when it comes from generosity. Jim and Donna Pycraft and the Pycraft family. Artie and Amy Wolf and the Wolf family. They built wrestling rooms for us and didn't charge us any money. We train kids out of these facilities and we have a deal where it's like, well, just give us what you can. There's no rental agreement, nothing like that. We take care of insurance and what we need to do. Because of that, we can have kids come in, and if they don't have enough money, so what? They can wrestle. Okay? Can't do it without people like that, man. Mike Mose, Jim Burge, those guys brought me back from Pennsylvania to Ohio. Gave me an opportunity to start my life. I retired from wrestling in 1994. It was time to start real life. They brought me back to Lorain County. They pushed me. They pushed me into USA, Ohio. Go to Fargo. Get with the best kids. Get out there. Keep coaching. Stay out of trouble. Get involved. In your 20s, there were many different avenues I could have gone. My friends were hanging out in the flats and doing this and doing that. But I was coaching wrestling. That kept me out of that mix. I credit Mike Mose and Jim Burge for that. Constant belief. Like I said, Coach Bub and the Clarion family. I already mentioned my teammates. Illyria Wrestling, coaches and families. Ron and Timmy Zuckerman, Dave Richards, they're sitting right back there. They gave their kids to us. Right? Yeah. So without people believing in you, USA Ohio, the Kali family, Riggs, the people that got me involved with that, right? They believed in me, right? So they get an award too, right? So wrapping it up, our Illyria coaches, Chidlaw, Coach Fair, Coach Drago, right over there, Coach Hewitt, Coach Dan Bottomley, Paganstecker, Gillespie, Workman, Newark, Melvin, Cannon, Felton, Fenton, Breeding, Richter, Mose. These guys are the best. You do it as a group. 293 of us in this room tonight making it happen together. Got to have people to make it happen. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Fred Feeney. I will tell you, right now, Fred is the most nervous guy in the room. Not because he has to give a speech, but because I reminded him that the guy with the microphone last always wins. Fred's an eternal prankster. Frank retired from officiating a couple years ago, and he happened to be doing his last Top Gun tournament at Alliance, refereeing, and our team was out there wrestling, and I was helping out. After one of the matches, Fred's at a table. He's got a rule book open up, and he's got 4 or 5 young coaches standing around him. And I walked by him. I go, 30 freaking years, and now you look at a rule book? And kept walking. These young coaches just looking at me. He's looking at me, shaking his head. So I got that one, Fred. He's not allowed to tell you the one he got on me. Fred is a 30-year experienced official, 2-time past president of the Central District Officials Association, president and founder of Mid-States Wrestling Officials Association, the largest collegiate assigning association in the country. He's FILA certified and is retired from freestyle Greco-Roman officiating in 2007. For 29 years, as a certified official instructor, he does what he loves to do best, that's train new officials. For the past 16 years, he's conducted the innovative One Weekend Are You a Duck class. It is estimated that Fred has trained over 500 new referees. He hosts a cable television show called Matside. He's moderator of several wrestling forums. He's worked both scholastic and collegiate wrestling, having worked the NWCA Duels, Midlands, Cliff King Classic in Las Vegas tournament, and many Division I duels. He's worked the Big Ten, MAC, OAC, GLIAC matches, including 8 NWCA Nationals. Fred has served as an assigner and evaluator at the Senior Nationals and National Duels on numerous NCAA events. In 2019, he was inducted into the Ohio Officials Hall of Fame. Fred and his wife Marge reside in Dublin and are the parents of Michelle and Thomas. It's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Fred Feeney.
Oh my goodness. A prankster, come on. I've got stories on probably so many people in this room, but we won't go into those. Eric talked about passion and direction, and I just want to talk about that a little bit. So passion, Bob Triano, who can't be here tonight, I wanted Bob to be here. Bob is a member of the Hall of Fame as well. He's not feeling well today, but his wife and daughter are here as his representative. But when I was a freshman, my brother Bob, who's back there, and his wife Marianne, Bob wrestled. We didn't have middle school wrestling or anything. We just had wrestling. So when I came out, I remember Bob Triano talk about passion. He had to have passion for the sport. And I smoked and I drank, and passion, what did I know about that? My freshman year, I had to pin a guy by the name of Pat Fickle to get a spot on the wrestling team. And I did, and as I'm pinning him, he's whispering in my ear, "Hey, I'm going to beat your butt when this is all over." And he did. But that wasn't the last time that a Fickle was important in my life. And I'll tell you about that here in a second. But I want to thank the committee and these guys and everybody here, for everybody who's come out to everybody here tonight. I mean, what a great crowd this is. And my family and all my friends that are here, I think there's 4 or 5 tables here, are people at the Central District Wrestling Official Association. I appreciate all those guys. So for me, when I got done wrestling, I went to Ohio State to wrestle, and they expect you to go to class, I guess. I had a 0.197 Q my first quarter. And but that was because of wrestlers. They had me join a fraternity, and that didn't work out quite well. But ended up going to Vietnam as a present for that. But when I came back, I was in a bar one night, and I saw Pat Fickle. And Pat Fickle, who I had known and beat my ass years ago, he goes, "Hey, we're going to a wrestling match tonight, or a wrestling officials meeting." He was an official. He said, "Come be a wrestling official. Come listen." It was at the Ohio School for the Blind, which we still meet there, which is funny. And so I went, and I went to the School for the Blind. There were some guys that I knew, and I go, "Hey, this is pretty cool. I think I'll become an official." So we went back to the bar, and I'm drinking, and I stayed longer, and did this and did that, and the next morning I got up and I can't. That's going to take too much time for my drinking. I can't officiate, and I didn't. And by the grace of God, I did not become an official when I was still drinking and drugging. I've been sober now 38, 39 years, and I waited till after I got sober to become an official. Imagine, you guys that know me, can you imagine me drinking and drugging and being an official? Sweet God. And, but when I did that, the one thing I wanted is I wanted to emulate Bob Trout, because Bob Trout was such a force in my life, and he gave a damn, and that mattered to me. So when I became an official, Bob said, "Hey, get film, watch film, and bring the film to my house, and we'll put it in and we'll watch it." So I would do that. So I had a match. First match ever was at Brook Park Middle School, and I was so proud of myself. I had my uniform on, and it was a middle school match. I thought it was the D1 National Finals myself, and I was so proud of what I did. I got in the car, and my daughter's sitting right over here, Michelle. And I was so happy with myself. My wife, Andrea, who passed away many years ago, she goes, "Hey, why did you let that kid punch that kid in the nose the entire match?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "All he did was punch the kid in the face." Well, I remember there was blood, but I didn't remember why. And I guess I got to watch out for that. So I took the film over to Bob Carroll's house, and Bob said, "Oh, come on in and put the tape in." And we put the tape in, and he made me bring a piece of paper and a notepad. And I do this to people that I mentor today. And he goes, "Now I'm going to tell you stuff, write stuff down." So I did, and we had, got 150 things, I think, in one little middle school match. He goes, "Stop doing that." Okay. And I left. And next match I had next night I had a match, and I come back to Bob's house. I put the tape in, and we put it in. The first thing, Bob goes, "Wait a minute. Didn't we talk about don't turn your back on the wrestlers?" And I'm looking through my, he goes, "Yeah, I did." And it was like number 7 or something. He goes, "So if you're not going to listen to me, get out." What? Get out. I don't have time to teach you if you're not going to listen to me. So get out. Okay. So I got my stuff, but I left. And Bob Shadow, if anyone knows Bob, he's got one eye. And that's the evil. He gives you that evil eye, you will pee your pants. It's just, so I left. So a couple nights later, I come back and I have the VCR cable. I put it in, and Bob goes, "Okay." And I got all my notes here, and I'm thinking, "Oh shit, no, what did I forget?" And we got down to about number 5. He goes, "Wait a minute. Didn't I tell you don't do this?" "Yeah, but get out." So I left. So what that made me do was every night when I had a match, I'd have to read not the rule book, but what Charlie told me not to do. So I had this whole list of stuff, and that's what made me better, was his boot up my ass, which is the same thing that he did in high school for me. But he cared enough to put that boot up my ass. And I had the choice. I could have turned and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And be gone. But he gave a damn. So I would go with him to matches, and I'd go, and he'd yell at me, and he almost kicked me. We were up at, where's John Jeffire at? we're up at Philly, and Bob's right beside me, and I'm beside him. He said, "Don't get next to me again. You get next to me again, I'm going to kick you off the mat." Okay. But that's what I need. That's how I learn. Is my boots up my ass. So I'm 72 and I still learn that way. I have tried to teach. There's a bunch of guys here that I've tried to. Sharon told me a long time ago, "Hey, dude, it's all about mechanics. If you look like you know what you're doing, people will think you do know what you're doing." And that's kind of where that "are you a duck" thing. If you look like a duck and act like a duck, talk like a duck, people think you're a duck. I even got a tattoo made when I was in, where the hell it was. Got a tattoo of the duck that's on my leg. So I tell guys, if you look like an official, and act like an official, talk like an official, people will think you are one. So I've fooled so many coaches out here by just looking the part that they don't even question, "Oh, yeah, Feeney made that call, it must be a good call." So, yeah, that was Bob. So, the direction and the passion. So as an official, so there's a young man over here, Cole Havergill, that when he was 8 years old, he used to come to Scotty Merritt's and I would be doing matches up in Marion where J.C. Ratliff and all those guys are. And he was saying, "Hey, this guy made the wrong call," or "This guy made the wrong call." The hell, you're 8 years old, but he did. So he started hanging out with us and so when we got a picture, I love this picture. He's 8 years old and me, and he's in my uniform, he's got my armbands on, he's got a whistle. And when he was 14, I talked to Ohio High School into letting him become an official. He was official ever in Ohio High School. And he's still doing officiating today. He's down South Carolina these days anymore, but he's doing it. But he was the first 16-year-old to be able to do a varsity match too. And what's really great about that is Bo Rugg called me and he goes, "Hey, if you're going to let him, I'll let him do it, but only did he take a class and did you teach him?" And that was such a thing for me that Bo trusted me that much to be able to take a young man like that and put him on the mat and be able to go make those calls. I like officiating. I got back into it last year when I got a call that said, "Hey, you got to come to a middle school tournament." I hadn't been on the mat for 5 years. And he goes, "Well, if you don't come, we can't have the tournament." So what you're telling me is there's going to be no rotation? I'm going to be on the mat all damn day, and in middle school too. The first 15 matches were pins. That's up and down, up and down, up and down. So thank God for CBD oil. I put it on my hips. The next weekend, St. Ed's called me and said, "Hey, we want you to go up and do a match." I go, "Are you nuts?" But they said, "No, come up. We heard your back." So I went up and did that. And Heffernan was in the locker room, and I had this lotion on, and it smelled. And Heffernan goes, "Feeney, is that being gay?" And but it helped. So I'm still back. So with the grace of God, I'm still on the mat. Hopefully we'll see it this year. I'm going to do a few things here and there. If I can get up, it's getting down is the easy part. It's getting up, that's the finish. But I got to thank the committee and everybody for trusting me, the coaches, Nick Burgess. I talked to Nick a while ago and I said, "Do you remember back when I was a second year official? I had the balls to go tell him I wanted to do the Pickerington-Kilbourne match." He said, "You're not ready." And then the following year, Penny Harris, who's here, and her husband went to Nick and said he is ready. And that was because of guys like Bob Triano. So I did those matches early on, matches I should never have done, but it got me to where I'm at. So with the NCAA and freestyle and Greco and Tyler Wiley over there who made me do Greco, and he gave me a lot of information about judgment, and you just got to make those calls sometime. And if someone asked me one time, what's the best call or the worst call, and I said, I don't know if I've ever made a great call or a bad call. Andy says I'm stalling. I called Andy on stalling a lot of times. But anyway, I thank everybody here. I thank my family, and I got to just say this about my family, is the hours that officials spend, you're on the road a lot. I'm gone. I was gone so much in high school, and I know I missed all my kids' stuff and my wife's stuff and family stuff. But they gave me the time to go do that. And 38 years later, here I am, and I don't know if I deserve any of this crap, but I'm here. I appreciate you guys, and thank you.
That's the longest Fred's ever spoken and not used a word that begins with the letter F.
I was told not to. Good job.
Our next inductee is Paul Oberst. Paul's another one of those member of that prestigious group of coaches that coached the wrestler that pinned Tom Evans in high school. Paul's a 1969 graduate of Bowling Green University, where he's a varsity letter winner and wrestled on the MAC championship team. His first coaching job was at Upper Sandusky High School, where I think he told me he got paid $200 for being the head coach at Upper Sandusky. He then moved on to Brooklyn High School, where he was the head coach for 6 years, winning 36 dual meets. He also coached the cultural exchange wrestling team to Iran in 1975 and Mexico in 1977. Paul then spent 23 of his 40 years of total coaching at North Royalton High School, where he amassed 217 dual meet wins with numerous state qualifiers, 27 state placers, 4 state champs, and a 3-time state champ. Paul coached North Royalton to 4 top 10 finishes in the state meet. He's coached 5 wrestlers that have gone on to be head coaches, 2 of them on the college level. Paul has also been a member of the Greater Cleveland Wrestling Coaches and Officials Association, serving on the executive board and the board for the Ohio Wrestling Coaches Association for 5 years. He coached the All-Star Meet 4 times. Upon retirement, he worked with Baldwin Wallace University as a cooperating teacher with student teachers. A quote from one of Paul's letters of recommendation reads, "My time spent coaching with Paul Oberst was the most important learning experience of my life. I learned more wrestling with and from Paul than I have any other person I've encountered. And the excitement and enthusiasm he generated in his wrestling and me led me to some of the most memorable moments of my life. This all led me to improve the quality of my teaching in school and community immensely." That was Leo Sanyak. Paul is married to Sharon. The sons Charlie Schemmel and Ben Schemmel are here with him today. It's my honor to present for induction to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio chapter, Mr. Paul Oberst.
Thank you very much. How many glasses here? And I'm going to be short and not just in status here. I would like to thank the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Ohio Chapter and Board of Directors, for this wonderful honor. I'd also like to congratulate the 2023 inductees. But I would like to introduce my family first, and I'd like to introduce my wonderful wife, Sharon. She had made many sacrifices, like many of the wives do as wrestling coaches. She was a statistician for the 8th grade, 9th grade, JV, and varsity, getting all the kids, getting them lined up, our tournaments. She went to the seating meetings, she worked in tournaments with the brackets, and she never went to a wrestling match in her life until she got a hold of me. My sons are here, Charlie and Whitney. Over here, they flew in from Texas. My 2 grandsons, Milo and Sammy. My other son, Ben Schemmel, and Jessica. My 2 beautiful granddaughters, Abby and Greta. And also my sister is here, Marlene, and Jody, and my niece, Jody and Matthew. You know, when Chairman Joe Arvini sent a letter and said that I was going to have a table here, I said, what do I have? I don't have anything. But what I started to do was I went up into the attic, and there was this box, and there was that box, and there was this box, and this foot locker. I went down the basement and did the same thing. I went to this closet and that closet. I accumulated a lot of things. But you know what? It was a wonderful trip down memory lane. You know, all the friends that I've met, the kids that I've seen, you know, the tournaments I've been at, and the hospitality ends that were, rooms that were great also. You know, last year Joe Drago was up here and he said to me, and he said to the group, he said, you could break this trophy that you get into 1,000 pieces because 1,000 different people deserve this. Like so many of the other people that have been up here and talked about. But I would like to thank some of my best friends whom I have known really for decades. And they've helped me, they've made me a better man, a better husband, a better father, and a better coach. And there are these two men that I want to acknowledge and mention, and I've agonized over which one should I mention first. Both men have been instrumental in my development and my success I have had. The first one is Joe Drago, and we started together at Brooklyn High School and later at North Royalton. At Brooklyn, we were two young guys with more hair. Our knees and our hips didn't hurt. But our coaching techniques were very similar because our high school coaches wrestled at West Tech and OU, and we were always on the same page. At Brooklyn, Joe and I changed the culture to success on and off the mats. We still talk on a weekly basis, and we still laugh. Leo Sinek sat over there, and I renewed the winning wrestling tradition at North Royalton. Leo was also the best man at my wedding. Our first season together, his wife, Carol, purchased these two colorful shirts that were purple, gold, and white. Well, I looked at them and I was really hesitant to wear them because, well, I'm a white shirt type of guy. But we said, I'll wear it. And the shirt fit our animated coaching style and personality over the years. In fact, Pat Galvinci of the Plain Dealer called us an entertaining sideshow. But Leo and I enjoyed coaching together and having fun and getting the most out of our wrestlers. I would just kind of go down a list of some of the people that have helped me. Tom Ellert was my high school coach. You know, he introduced me and showed me the passion of the sport of wrestling. Chuck Gibson was the North Royalton principal, and he was just a guy who kind of guided me. And we always have this talk. He always says, you know, you came into my office and told me you were in love with my present wife. You know, I think I said that wrong, but I think you know what I'm saying. Mr. Joy used to call me a banny rooster. I'm not sure what that meant. But Mike Mayo also coached with me on all different levels, and he later became superintendent of Brunswick City Schools. Wally DeMatti started when he was 18 years old and was with me for the next 20 years. Wrestlers who became head coaches, and I know some of you they've mentioned, but Sean Nelson over here, three-time state champion. He's also at Finley College. Boomer is at Lake Erie College, but everybody knows him as Boomer. I'm not even really sure what his first name is. Another one is Chris Benacki, who's the Twinsburg High School coach, and Ryan Morton was at the Valley Forge. Two friends that are here that I grew up with. I'd like to acknowledge them, Fred Katona and Bill Maloof, and we were at second grade together, so it's been a long time. We're still friends, and we still enjoy each other's company. And Jim Harbuck over there, I saw him march in, and he was the only kid we wrestled together against each other. We were referees together. We coached against each other too. But we always kid each other. I said, "You're the only kid I ever switched on when we wrestled." And he tells me I was the only kid he ever took down in high school. I do have two quick stories I'd like to share with you. But when I was a ninth grader, I first started wrestling. I was 73 pounds. I was a little guy. I was always at the end of the line, you know, on everything. And there was no 80 or 85. I could wrestle 103. But my mom didn't know or understand wrestling. And so, but she did know the math. You weigh, how much do you weigh? 73, and you're wrestling 103? So she packed me a lunch the day of the match, and she gave me 35 cents for a special. I had two lunches and an extra 5 cents for mashed potatoes because they won't be able to throw you around as much if you have two lunches. Well, moms are right? So that's what I did. I went in there you know, like a crusader and all that. I had 2 lunches and meat with mashed potatoes. Listen, last story is, you know, Rhodes High School. You got to watch what bathroom you went into and at what time you went into, especially when you're 73 pounds. Okay, because you'd get pushed around, you'd get beat up, and things like that. Well, one time, and I, you know, always kind of made sure I was going to the right bathroom at the right time so I could avoid these problems. So I walked in, and there I saw the pusher-arounders and the beater-uppers, and I said, I'm in trouble, you know? So I started walking in, and I turned around, and I started to walk back. And I heard some footsteps behind me, and I said, I'm in trouble. But I also heard this voice. It says, leave him alone. He's a wrestler, he's on the wrestling team. And at that point in time, I knew I belonged to something very special. I became a wrestler. Thank you for your time. I took some Tommy's notes, so
The audience wishes you would take my notes, Oaks. Our next inductee is Troy Roth. Troy is a graduate of Miami University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in mathematics and taught that subject for 35 years. He has been involved in coaching for 37 years, 22 of those. He served as head coach at Montpelier, as well as coaching football, served in track. This year, Troy will have coached his 100th season of high school athletics. At Montpelier as head coach, he's amassed 180 dual meet wins, 74 district qualifiers, 8 league champions, 6 state qualifiers, and a state placer. He's been instrumental in the leadership of wrestling in the state of Ohio. He's been a member of the Northwest Ohio Wrestling Coaches Association for over 20 years. Ohio Wrestling Coaches Association served as its treasurer for 10 years, past president and president for 6 years. Troy is a member of the Coaches Association when the state dual meet tournament was formed. We all remember those reverse raffles to raise money to pay for the state dual meet tournament when the Coaches Association started it. He's also an instrumental in helping form the first girls state wrestling tournament. Troy was named Division III Coach of the Year in 2011. Troy's daughter Chelsea wrote, and I told Chelsea this out here in the lobby, I've read a lot of recommendations for letters for scholarships through 42 years of education. I told her hers was one of the most well-written letters of recommendation I had ever seen. But she says, as a daughter of a coach, you are raised a particular way. A lot of lessons my dad taught to his athletes began at home. He taught me anything worth doing was worth doing well. If you put effort into learning and practicing and executing, you can't fail. This life lesson works both on and off the mat, and I believe that is what every coach wishes for their athletes, to be the best version, teammate, and person they can be. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio Chapter, Troy Roth.
You know, when I was first told by this, and of course, Ray had to call the house, and my daughter Chelsea was there, and they were the ones that really spearheaded this push to see if they could get me in. I'm like, this is some kind of a joke. You know, I go to Ray's, he's got a great party at the end of every July. I've been to this one, and I'm thinking, this is some kind of a sham. Because I look at the people going in, and I'm thinking, I'm not sure I qualify. But there's enough people that believe, and I'm extremely honored and humbled that I'm here. When I first started teaching and coaching in Salon, and I got 2 couples here, Steve and Denise Bramer kind of took me in as their adopted son to try and keep me out of trouble while I was teaching, because I was coaching football with him. They would feed me, and when the cocktails were flowing after Friday night football games, they were like, just stay with us. And, Steve and I ended up becoming golf partners, and then our hook and slice league, we ended up winning 4 different times. So much appreciated to the Bramers. Also the Carones, Joe and Carol Carone. I started coaching, being assistant coach with Joe. And, what a dynamic family that they had. And it got to the point then where Joe at one point then came to me and said, I'm not allowed to coach my son anymore, you have to. Taking coaching home to the family, and Carol was like, nope, we're at the dinner table, this is family time, we do not discuss any wrestling here. And so to make sure that the parent-child thing worked, I had to go make sure that I coached his son all the time and he could coach all the other SWAT kids. The biggest compliment I can give Joe, and I've told him this before, is if he ever came to a Montpelier wrestling practice, it would look exactly like a Swanton wrestling practice. And I believed so much in what he was doing and we were doing there that I made sure I was doing it at Montpelier. And we had some success. And one of my biggest accomplishments, I guess, at Montpelier was that in the NWAL with Liberty Center and Delta and Archbold and Lausanne, I beat everybody. And, it took me 20 years to be able to do that, but it was a nice accomplishment that I could actually beat everybody else in that league. I think it's just a tough-ass league. But wrestling is a family affair. My dad was a junior at Archbold when the wrestling program started, and he wrestled. I wrestled for Chuck Forward. My sister went through, she was a mat maid. My children then, my oldest daughter, she became a mat maid. And now she runs several wrestling tournaments herself. My next daughter came through. She was a mat maid. Her and her husband just recently had our first grandchild, and if you look at the thunder thighs on him, guarantee he's going to wrestle. He's not a basketball player. My son went through, and so, the good and bad stuff that Joe went through with his son, and I was going to make sure that I was not going to discuss wrestling at the dinner table when we got home. And I really enjoyed coaching my kid, and he is now a coach at Montpelier. It is a big-time family affair. My wife, my lovely bride of 32 years, she always washed all the singlets, and she ran the hospitality room, so I didn't have to worry about that when we hosted our tournaments. And that's all I can say. It's family, family, family. Keep everybody involved. You look around at all these people, and they just keep producing more and more. And we are going to continue to build this back up. And the girls wrestling right now is an unbelievable, fabulous thing for the state of Ohio. I want to thank you very much for this. I'm extremely honored. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Our next inductee is Mr. John Stevenson. John is a product of Waynesburg High School, where his father ran the youth wrestling program, and as many as 13 of his cousins competed in wrestling. John is a 1974 graduate of Fairmont State University, where he was an NAIA All-American. He took over as head coach at Cadiz High School in 1974 and coached through 1988, and then returned as an assistant coach from 99 to 2000. If you were a single-A school back then, you know who Cadiz was, those red and blue singlets. John's teams, 8-time sectional champs, 7 times district champs, 3 times runners-up. And in 1987, Cadiz won the state single-A championship. He coached 78 state qualifiers, 29 state placers, 2 state champions. You can't talk wrestling in the state of Ohio without talking about the OVAC, the Ohio Valley Athletic Conference. Made up of teams from Southeast Ohio and West Virginia. I think I read someplace that it might be the largest wrestling conference in the nation. 18 times they were dual meet champs of the OVAC. 12 times OVAC AA tournament champs. 1981 overall champs. 3 times AA Coach of the Year in the OVAC. And overall Coach of the Year in the Mr. Matt Award in 1993. John has had numerous wrestlers qualify for NAIA, NCAA Divisions 2, 3 Nationals, and his former wrestlers continue to coach wrestling today. He was inducted into the Ohio Wrestling Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 1993. He's also a member of the Harrison County Sports Hall of Fame. The high school gym at Harrison High School is named after John. He continues to serve the OVAC committee and is the TV commentator for the OVAC championships annually. One of John's recommendation letters reads, John's innate abilities of organization and management, along with his enthusiasm and passion for the sport of wrestling, were the motivating qualities that inspired all he came in contact with, including myself. He continues to be a role model of excellence and hard work. That's from Michael Crozier. John is married to Nancy and has daughters Shannon and Stephanie. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio chapter, Mr. John Stevenson.
First of all, I'd like to thank the banquet hall here at Villa Milano for the outstanding meal. I'd like to thank the selection committee in the nomination, Steve Kish, Joe Greenlee, Sean Crozier, that's Michael Crozier, Dan Doyle, and Gordy Longshaw, and one of my former wrestlers, Paul Coughlin, who gathered up the information for this thing. I'd like to introduce my family. Josh Slattery, he just raised his hand. My daughter Stephanie. They have three kids. Wyatt, who's a football player and a track participant. Hannah, who is a basketball player at the church league. She does not play at 8 o'clock. She only plays at 10. And Noah, who is a football player and a basketball player and a lacrosse player. Also Brad Holtz. And my wife, not my wife, but my daughter Shannon, and they have two kids that are going to be pretty good wrestlers if they keep at it, Jackson and Braxton. Also my wife Nancy, who dug through numerous stuff in my mom and dad's house. My mom and dad and my brother all passed away in the last 5 years, and we dug in a box and found all kinds of articles and all kinds of stuff to put out on the table. You know you're getting pretty mature when you have to go to a museum to get your memorabilia. So Caddis High School is no more, it's Harrison Central High School. So that stuff is in a museum in our town of New Athens. Also I'd like to, they put their hands up, Lynn Brewer and Vicky Brewer. They traveled here from Waynesburg. Lynn is my cousin, Gunnar Travellini and Susan Travellini traveled from Philadelphia to be here. Jim and Lori Patterson. Lori had 3 brothers that wrestled from Waynesburg. Mike Gauss wrestled from Waynesburg and is here. Charlie Morse wrestled some from Waynesburg, but he had 2 boys that wrestled from Waynesburg in the last, one's still a senior in college at Waynesburg, and one of them just graduated from Pitt Johnstown, was a 41-pounder. I'd like for this person to stand up because I don't think anybody can take this away from him. John Higgins, if you'd stand up, someone might help him a little bit. Right there, this is John Higgins. He's the adjoining farm to my parents' farm. My brother and my dad had a farm. He's the adjoining farm. He is the 1952 state champ for the state of Pennsylvania, 185 pounds. And I thank them for coming. What an honor to receive. And in thinking about this honor, the first thing I started to think about, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for my family that I lost, and also kids that wrestled for Caddis, and in our community, some of our fans and parents that have passed away. If you just bow your head for 1 second. Amen. Thank you. What an honor to receive. I love the sport of wrestling. I've loved it since 5 years old, when my dad took me to the first, I don't know what, they've had so many names for kids wrestling, and now it's youth. It used to be midget. They called it Little League, and then they got sued by Little League Baseball. So I don't know what to call it. We call it midgets, and people come and well, I don't see any midgets. Where are they at? The 45-pounders are the midgets. Look at them. So in 1973, into 74, I came to Cass. I was probably their only applicant. They were just hoping to get somebody. We were late for my interview because my dad wanted to watch the big steam shovel strip mine place, and we were late getting there because he wanted to watch it work for a half hour. So we got there, started the program. Not too many people knew anything about wrestling. After 3 years, they put a thing in the paper, is wrestling starting to hurt basketball? So we had no wrestling room, we had a stage, very cold. So we built a 22 by 42 wrestling room in a loft where they used to keep the props for the stage. It had not very much room, but we had some tough stuff going on in there, and that was there until whenever Harrison Central became about, and they tore that building down. We kept working and working. I tell my grandsons over and over, finish the move and keep finishing till you score a point. So in little kids wrestling, the higher level you go, the more you have to keep finishing and keep finishing till you score. Because the guy you're wrestling that's maybe more talented than you at that point, you have to keep going. And sometimes in the practice room, you don't get that kid. I've had some assistant coaches here. Dennis Mallory's not here. Bruce Hanna. Jeff Frey, if you'd raise your hand, he was one of my assistant coaches. John Allman was one of my assistant coaches, and he just shared with me, if we get a standing ovation from the Cats people, that means they're ready to go home. Hans Carter was one of my assistants. Lloyd Moore was one of my assistants. He's here. And Rich McKinney's here. Also one more, Jeff Carroll. I have one lady here that I would like to stand up. Sandy Namath. You would please, I know she can stand up, but she's got a couple hip replacements. So, since 1974-75 until I quit, she worked at the time, not the timer's table, but the head table with my father and some other people there. But she was the whole existence of our program. She had 3 sons that wrestled, and she has 2 grandsons that wrestled. And she has 2 great-grandsons that's coming up. And I don't want to get gong, Gordy, because I know that the last guy was here, he was 3 minutes under, so I'm reclaiming my time. I was born and raised in Waynesburg, and Waynesburg was a place that had wrestling, and you saw at the Iron Man, Waynesburg did quite well there, okay? My coach was Ernie Klosser, and my assistant coach was Joe Ersman. I would have never went to college at Fairmont State, which I started 2 weeks after high school because of a wrestling program we had to go to, if Bucky Murdoch, and Bucky Murdoch doesn't mean much to you people, but he coached Waynesburg College when Waynesburg College beat Oklahoma State, and a lot of the big schools with a small school. He was our guidance counselor. He said to me, there's a guy going to come seeing you Friday night, and I was signed up to go to Robert Morse Junior College and be an accountant. Probably out of work now. So I went to Caddis, stayed there the whole time, and became the assistant principal for my old boss. Became the principal, and became the principal of Harrison Central High School when they put it together. But I spent my last 6 years in elementary schools, which is, you know, the elementary kids, they go home and tell if they got in trouble. The high school kids, they never go home and tell. You're going to have to hunt their parents down. I was fortunate enough to be assistant coach at Harrison Central for a few years with Jim Rocky, and he was one of the wrestlers. I also have coached the last few years at Copley, the youth program, with Steve Millard. Thank you, Steve, for letting me be in there, and Larry Grimes. I'd like to say one thing: you beg, borrow, and steal when you coach. And I don't think to this point, after all these years, I'm 71 years old, after all these years, I don't go to a youth match that I don't pick something up that I would like to take home and try to share with my grandsons. After coaching, became assistant principal, then the principal. Last 6 years at the elementary school, I already said that. My superintendent is here today. He'd raise his hand. Jim Drexler was the superintendent when I finally retired in 2008. He had to put up with me. He's also my athletic director for a while. In closing, I'd like to say this. You have to really work hard in the sport of wrestling, whether you're the coach, whether you're the kid, whether you're the parent. Last summer, we lost a very important person in the OVAC conference. He ran the OVAC tournament, and it didn't matter where we were in my cabin in Canada, drinking some liquid encouragement, and it always came back to one thing: memories. He always talked about memories. He also talked about every year at the conference, press conference, he would say, the thing is like the spoke of a wheel. There's a bearing, you have to put grease in the bearing. It has spokes, and those spokes are made up of wrestlers that you get out, wrestlers that you keep out, parents that support your program, administration that supports your program, and also families that support the program. I would like to say thank you to those, and I know that Ron Moth and my dad and my mom are looking down upon us as we sit here today, but it's been a tough road the last few years, and a lot of the clippings that we got was in my dad's basement. We got them out and cleaned them out, and we're still cleaning the house up. But to move on to the thing, I'd like to thank everybody that was here, came tonight. I know that you love the sport of wrestling. It's one hell of a sport. There's none better. And there's no other sport that you can be getting beat 14-0, not 15-0. Because Feeney called a technical foul and you're going home. 14-0, as long as you put that kid on his back, hold his shoulders down, and the referee hits the mat, you're the winner. So there's no other sport like that. Well, I don't know. Ultimate fighting, because that guy knocks you out, I guess you're right. My last year helping coaching, I was at this is the last thing. Thank God, huh? I was at the brief district tournament at Marion, and there was a kind of a questionable call with one of our better kids, so I kind of went out onto the mat when not during the wrestling, but to question. The referee happened to be Steve Kish. Steve Kish did not hear anything I said. All he said to my head coach was, you got to get your assistant under control, and he better get back in the chair. So I had to sit in the chair like a kindergarten kid and time out. And he chased me back. I said, Steve, why the hell did you chase me back to the chair? He goes, it was a voice from the past that I heard, and I just snapped out. And add insult to injury, his assistant referee, which you had to straighten it out, was none other than Reed Regal. So I thank everybody for coming. I guess you people from Caddis can stand up now. Time to go home.
Bruce, want to close it up? You can tell John was a high school administrator because there's always one more thing. On behalf of the committee and the Ohio chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. Remember, there's applications on the table. I'm sure everybody in here knows someone deserving that should be up here to be recognized as well. Please take that with you. You can also go to the Ohio Wrestling Coaches Association and find the application as well. So thank everybody for coming today. John talked about stories. I'm sure if you gather around this piece of woodwork over here, that there'll be some liquid-induced stories that take place here in the next hour or so. Have a great day. Go wrestling.